Hi, my name is Ian, and I lead the data team here at work. So the problem that we're going to look at today is the issue of trying to understand where new signups or even new web traffic to our website is actually coming from. So maybe normally I would poke around a couple tables, I'd write some ad hoc queries. I would look for trends in user attributes that are kind of notable over the past week that maybe I haven't seen in prior weeks. It's kind of ad hoc analysis. So what I'd like to try to do is abstract away that whole process to an agent. And I want to build an agent that will dig into our data by itself, and just explore different trends and kind of go down different rabbit holes and look at different possibilities by querying the data in BigQuery. And then I want the agent to report notable trends to us by posting on Slack each week. So this is an environment on Oz, and the important thing here to see is that it has, for context within the environment, references to all of the data repos. But the one that we really care about for this demo is this dbt repo, which means that every time that this agent's going to spin up and start doing its analysis, it's going to have access to the complete dbt set of models so that it can really explore and understand the data that's available to it for querying in BigQuery. So I'm going to show you how we can sort of set up a blueprint, almost like an agent script in the form of a skill. At the top here, we have kind of a high level purpose for the analysis. We're telling the agent what we're after. We also give some information about a webhook that I've set up in Slack so that when it's finished with this analysis each week, it can post to the webhook and actually post onto a channel on Slack for us to read. And then below that, I kind of get into the meat of the actual analysis. So I talk about what sorts of users we're concerned about. I point to a handful of interesting tables. I kind of highlight some metadata within those tables. I list the types of trends that we might be interested in. And then finally, I throw in sort of a laundry list of different user and web visitor attributes. So of course we can orchestrate these agents from many places, including that web app that we just looked at, or SDKs, the API. Here I'm using the CLI, and I'm actually in Warp itself, but I'm using the CLI to set up the scheduled agent. So I'm saying Warp schedule create, and then I'm naming the agent. This is called weekly user attribution research. I give it a cron schedule, so this is going to happen. It's going to run every Monday morning. And then I directly reference the skill that I just highlighted. And then finally, it needs a reference to an environment to run in. So this is the ID of that work data environment that we already looked at earlier. Great, so it's scheduled our agent. So let's go confirm that in the web app. Go down, and there it is. So weekly user attribution research at 10 a.m. on Mondays. Boom, great. And this is an example of one of these reports that's going to spit out. So we don't have to go into great detail here, but we see that there's some high-level metrics. It talks about some trends that it's seeing in Twitter traffic, some trends in referral codes, invite codes. There's some interesting stuff about different enterprises that have been seeing more signups recently. And then it gets into paid conversion and some stats on paid campaign performance over the last week. And then even to some emerging geo trends, which is really cool. And from here, we can kind of pick what we're interested in and send off another agent to kind of dig further or figure out the why behind some of these trends. A year ago, this might have been a whole product in itself, but we've actually been able to build this thing in a few minutes, and it's really, really cool to see.